Hi, my name is Garrett Roberts. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I currently work at Chapman and Plymouth. I've previously worked at a few different firms in South Florida and in the Treasure Coast doing bankruptcy and foreclosure work. I went to University of Florida, go Gators. But I was going to tell you a little bit about bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is the legal means by which to discharge debt, and you can do that in one of three major chapters or categories. It's Chapter 7, which is a liquidation, a Chapter 13, which is a reorganization, and a Chapter 11, which is a corporate reorganization. I'll start with Chapter 11, which is the corporate reorganization. That's the one where a big business like Winn-Dixie, Blockbuster, Twinkies, Hostess recently filed Chapter 11. And these firms are corporate clients who want to continue to operate the business, but just to restructure their debts. And Chapter 11 allows them to do that. A corporation could also file a Chapter 7, which is a liquidation, which is if the business continues to do poorly and eventually fails, they can file a Chapter 7 to discharge the debt with regards to the business. But Chapter 7 is one of the main chapters for an individual to file. And a Chapter 7, like I said, it's a liquidation. So all debts are going to be discharged, except for a few. But if you have any assets that would be unexempt or unprotected in a bankruptcy setting, the court would seize those assets and would sell them at auction. In Florida, you're allowed to have $1,000 to protect your vehicle. You're allowed to keep 6 months worth of wages in the bank account, and you're allowed an unlimited homestead exemption with a few exceptions. If you're not keeping your home, you're allowed to take something called a $4,000 wild card to protect an extra $4,000 worth of personal assets. So you can protect a car with $1,000, personal property with $1,000, and $4,000 of additional property if you're not wishing to keep your homestead. Chapter 7 is hopeful because you file a Chapter 7 and within a few months all your debts are completely discharged and you're in and out of bankruptcy in a couple months, which is helpful to many people. It does not discharge debts with regards to child support, alimony, or certain taxes. It also does not let you do any lien stripping, which I'll explain in a minute, which is available in a Chapter 13, something I've filed quite a few cases doing. In a Chapter 13, that's a reorganization for an individual. In 2005, the creditors rewrote the bankruptcy code and made it more difficult to file a Chapter 7. In a Chapter 7, there's something called a means test, which determines your eligibility based on your income to be able to completely discharge all your debts. If you're unable to pass that test, you're required to file a Chapter 13. And in the Chapter 13, you pay back, based on a complex formula, a percentage of your debts to your unsecured creditors. Chapter 13, they call it the super discharge. By super discharge, I mean that you can discharge certain taxes that were not available in a Chapter 7 setting. You can also strip off mortgages, which is the lien stripping that I was speaking about. So if you have a home where the first mortgage balance is higher than the fair market value of the property, you could completely remove from the book and page of the county records that second mortgage or that home equity line of credit. So for an example, if you had a home that was worth $100,000 and you owed on the first mortgage $150,000, you could get rid of any type of second mortgage regardless of how much it is. You could remove that, find it completely unsecured, and remove it as a lien on the real estate. This is really helpful to people, especially people in 2004, 5, and 6 who were getting second mortgages. Banks were doing this very often. And now, with the market the way it is, a lot of these homes are completely underwater. So being able to strip off a second mortgage for a homeowner is critical to them keeping their home. Some of the other things you're able to do is to remove liens in the same way with a homeowners association. You can also, on a piece of property that is not the individual's primary residence, you can reduce the mortgage or essentially rewrite a mortgage at fair market value. So in the same scenario, if it was not your primary residence and you had a property that was worth $100,000 and you had a $150,000 second mortgage, as long as it's not your primary residence, you could rewrite a mortgage at $100,000 and pay that off. And so at the end of the bankruptcy, the individual will have a piece of property that's paid for free and clear. That's why Chapter 13, even though you have to make payments to your creditors, you're able to discharge a lot more debts. And by payments to your creditors, you're required, in a Chapter 13, you're required to make payments to your creditors each month, and you pay those to a trustee. A trustee is the individual who investigates you, makes sure that you are who you say you are, and that you're paying the correct amount to your creditors, and she will disperse those. She's someone hired by the Department of Justice and approved by the bankruptcy judge to do this. Bankruptcy can help people in quite a few ways that most people don't recognize. A lot of people with businesses, small businesses, we can restructure their debts in a Chapter 13, both individually and as a corporation, to allow them to continue doing business and make the business more profitable. So just because someone has an incorporated small business, if they wholly own it, we're able to restructure most of their debts in the corporate setting just as we are in a personal setting. Bankruptcy has been essentially an epidemic the last few years. We've seen a swing to a lot of higher income people filing bankruptcy, not just the people who lost their jobs and are struggling right now. Bankruptcy has hit everybody across the board, regardless of income. But it affords people the opportunity to get back on their feet, restructure their debts in a way that's going to allow them to go forward in the best way possible. So I've been doing bankruptcy for about almost 4 years now, and have worked for a few of the largest bankruptcy firms in South Florida, both as a creditor and as a debtor's attorney. I've also done quite a bit of work in state court with financial issues. I've handled quite a few foreclosures, both defending them and prosecuting them. And being able to handle in a short amount of time such a wide variety of financial issues helps in a bankruptcy setting, because you're able to see different issues that come up, and you can address those under one setting, a bankruptcy setting. So again, my name is Garrett Roberts. I work for Chapman and Plymel. Our number is 772-283-2626. If you have any further bankruptcy questions, you could give me a call at any time. Thank you.